rock contest, what it was called, rock contest, that's where you see burning. Everybody trying to burn each other on the line, you know. Danny Boy was called a legend because he was dope. Everybody wanted to be a Danny Boy.
Yeah.
And Carlos, he was so fast. He was like dancing on 45 in the speed, but he was always on beat. He was humongous. I mean, he was like so quick. He would roast you so fast and burn you that you couldn't hang with him. People, you know, that's how fast he was, but he was always on beat. Wow. And then you had Manny, who was a great dancer also in Dynasty. He, you know, not too much of a burner, but I'd say a great freestyle. But he could burn you while he's freestyling you, and then, you know, pull you out of your game, you know. Wow. So, but Danny Boy was more of a legend, you know. Everybody was always after Danny Boy, you know, because, you know, he was a pretty boy, and all the girls liked him. So, you know, if you wanted the girls, you had to beat Danny Boy, you know.
What was the dress code for rockers back then?
Well,
people used to dress back then, right?
Well, basically, you know, we wear, you know, we used to dress like going out. We had like these pants called the French cuts. They were like bell bottom, and we used to wear like a Chinese collar shirt, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, back then, you know, the dress code was always a dressy code, you know. And that's if you were going out. But, you know, basically if you had a sweatsuit or jeans or whatever, you know, you go out and battle, whatever. But like in church, you could dress anything. But when we did routines, we used to make our own costumes, or we had somebody who made our costume. Like Touch a Rock had a guy named Chicky who used to make the vests and the routine, you know, like the suits for them. Some of us, we used to get like a sweatsuit and then get like a straight line, like a piece of cloth, and add on. Like we'll make our own flavor to the sweatsuit, so it looks different, you know. So,
but when you guys never look like B-boys.
No, we never look like B-boys. You know, it's, you know, sweatsuit was to us was like a regular sweatsuit without a hoodie or something like that. You know? So, you know, basically sweatsuits were over. I mean, back then they had like, you know, unknown brands, whatever, but you only could afford what you could afford, and you made it, whatever you bought that was cheap, even though the price was cheap. When you put stuff on it, it looked like it was some type of special made suit for you, you know. So that's what was a good thing about it. But when you do routines, you always had to be dressed the same. And we used to go and do our own plates, where we had this place called Same Sunshine, where you take a tape and they make a record plate. And it's like $35 used to cost, and you used to go out there and dance to the music that you practice with, you know, and that's how you do your routine.
Oh wow, nice. Can you talk about the original rockers? Some people think that like when the rock crew started, that rocking started too. Like they think around 73 the rock started, because the rock crew started. Can you talk about the original rockers?
Well, the rock crew started in 73, which Touch a Rock came out, and then a couple months later Dynasty came out. We were the first rock crew, but I don't know about, that's different, because Dynamic Spinners were a DJ crew, but they rock and they DJ. You had MTC Jitterbug, Music to Communicate. They were a DJ crew, but to MTC Jitterbugs were the dancing crew, you know. And I mean, those guys like that, I mean, they were dancing way before us, but they were DJs, so they did both, you know. And those guys, you know, even the gangs, they were out before us. They wasn't crews, you know. And they didn't go out there and say, well, the Devil Rub was gonna battle the Dirty Ones in Uprocking contest, you know. They just danced. It was a dance. You know, it took something in the beginning.
A social dance.
Yeah, it took something in the beginning. Later on, we made it as a crew because we knew how to dance, the foundation of rocking, and we made crews out of it. We took it to another level now. You know, where the gangs were just gangs. You know, not every gang member dance, but you know, most gang members rock. Whether they're from Brooklyn or they're from Manhattan or whatever. Most of the gangs learn from the gangs in Brooklyn, you know, because some gangs had a chapter in Brooklyn, and had a chapter in the Bronx, or had a chapter in Manhattan. There was different chapters. So if you have a chapter of a gang in Brooklyn, and then you make a chapter later on in Manhattan or in the Bronx, and the chapter dance in Brooklyn dances, of course the other guy's gonna want to dance also. You know, that's the way it was. But back then, as crew, as like an Uprock crew, there was no rocking crew really more than Brooklyn. Brooklyn had all the Uprock crews. The Bronx started with the b-boy stuff, more of that in like 77 and on, you know. But they can't come and say, well, we were dancing 1973 and we were Uprocking, because you will have to prove it to us.
Okay, which are like the more known crews in Brooklyn, and can you give me some names which are like, you know, the best ones, or like whatever, you know, any names? You know?
Well, you had of course Dynasty. You had Touch of Rock. You had Rock with Class. You had Nasty Rockers. You had MTC Jitterbugs. You had Dynamic Spinners. You had Little Dave Rockers. You had Explosive Rockers. You have Phasic Rockers. You have Love Disco Style.
Oh wow, nice.
You know, you had Mastermind Rockers. You had Down to Rock. Let me see, I'm talking about big, and then you know, like if you went to Bay Ridge, maybe have FMDs and the All-Star dancers, you know, but they never came to Bushwick and battle us, you know. Like every crew in Brooklyn knew about Dynasty and Touch of Rock. We were the only crew that always battling to see who was number one. Dynasty thought we were number one, Touch of Rock thought they were number one. So it was always Touch of Rock and Dynasty proving and trying to get territory from every other crew and let them know that we were the best, or they thought they were the best. But no other crew really came to Bushwick and tried to come and battle us. Impossible. And then you had East New York. You had the East New York Rockers. East New York had a lot of rocking crews. Universal Dancers. They had a lot of you know what I mean? I'll tell you right now, man. East New York was another part of Bushwick that they uprocked pretty good, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
But you know, if you rock in certain neighborhood and you won, they try to kill you. Because one of our junior dynasty, Ray, he went to East New York. He went and joined a rock contest, and this guy's a junior. Imagine if I'm 18, he's about 13, 12 years old. He went over there and joined a rock contest. He burned everybody, and they killed him.
Oh man!
So back then, you know, you had to go with a crew or somebody, because if you went by yourself and they knew you were by yourself, they were gonna try to kill you. Especially you won, they wasn't letting you go home as a victory. They'll brag that you burned such in their neighborhood.
But you would go to another place like that with your colors, with your name on the back?
So you go with your colors and stuff, but you had to go with a bunch of guys that, you know, that were part of your crew, but you knew that they were more of a stick-up kid or something. Like, you know, there were some guys that would hang down with Dynasty. They wasn't rockers. They were more of our, you know, they would just fight for us. You know what I'm saying? When we went somewhere, we wasn't like we were going there and we wasn't going to be able to come home. I mean, there's a lot of rockers that will tell you stories that they went to some neighborhood and they got chased. I got chased from East New York once.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I mean, they only chased us because they had guns and stuff. I mean, I didn't have no guns. They would have fought me barehanded. I would have fought right back. But you know, there was like 20 of them, and there was only like 3 of us.
Oh man!
You know, so I mean, I'm not gonna tell you I'm not no punk. But I tell you right now, if it would have been 10 of them and 3 of us, and it was hand in hand, I would have went for mine. Because I studied martial arts since I was 5 years old. I was boxing since I was, you know, in my 10. Since I started like 9 years old, I started boxing. So I could defend myself, you know. I was really good fighting. I was a better fighter than I was a dancer. But, you know, in certain neighborhoods, you had to be careful where you went because they try to kill you.